right, welcome back in. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. We are here at the Trenton Thunder game, and we did announce our new partnership with the Trenton Thunder today. Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, the new exclusive home of the Trenton Thunder, Arm & Hammer Park. And come on down tonight, as this is just going to be a tremendous home opener. It's the Portland Sea Dogs and the Trenton Thunder. And now joining us is the man whose voice you're going to be blessed with late into the night on our station. That's Adam Giardino, the play-by-play voice of the Trenton Thunder, who's kind enough to hop on board with us right now. Adam, great to welcome you into the 920 The Jersey family. How are you?
Oh, this is really exciting. I mean, I speak for both myself, John Moses, the other broadcast part, the other part of the broadcast team, and I mean, just to be able to affiliate ourselves with you guys moving forward the end of this season, it's really exciting. We've got 133 games at least to go into the playoffs, and then we hope we've got plenty more playoff games ahead of that.
What time did you guys get in today, by the way?
6:30.
Wow.
So I think from my first answer, you can already see I'm not putting words together quite as well as you'd hope.
I'm surprised you're up. If I was the voice of the Thunder, I would say I got in at 6:30. I'm coming in at 6:30 p.m. We'll go on air at 6:40. There we go.
The bus rolled out at 11 o'clock from Akron, Ohio last night.
Wow.
There was a pit stop from 2 to 3 in the morning at some Steak and Shake / Starbucks / convenience store. And then we had 3.5 hours left to go until we got here. And we rolled in at 6:30 and got some work done, took a nap from 8:30 to 10:30, woke up, pulled some clothes out of the laundry, and came to work.
You're running on fumes. That's the life of a play-by-play broadcaster in the minor leagues, and also the players. You see the players, they got to come in an hour later today, but still, I can't even imagine. I go to bed some nights at 1 a.m., and I wake up the next day at 8:30 a.m., and I'm an annoying pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's these guys, I mean, today they're not taking batting practice, so it is an adjusted schedule. The coaches understand that totally, and even the coaches, they don't necessarily want to be here that early either. It's a long season, and days like today where you can kind of take a day and say, you know what, guys, stay home, we'll go light. Sometimes they come out and, these are the kind of games where you win 10-0, and you go, oh, we should show up late more often.
Hey, that would work. Hey, whatever superstitious, that's fine. But the start of the season, you guys tried to start the season twice and got rained out, right?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday.
Where were you for that?
Erie, Pennsylvania. So as far west as we really go in the league. But Erie, with that lake effect, it's really difficult to figure out what's going to happen. And we showed up Wednesday afternoon, had a game Thursday night, supposed to have a game Thursday night. We actually showed up to the ballpark Thursday night. It was raining, and just the forecast, basically once it started raining, we knew it wasn't going to stop. And overnight it snowed 3 inches. Wow. So it was just, woke up the next day. The snow had kind of taken care of itself with the rain that washed it away. But I think more than anything on Friday, the field just wasn't in shape to play, where it was kind of frozen, it was wet. Playing on it, even if it was dangerous for the players, it was dangerous for the field too. That field needs to hold up for 70 games this year, so they can't really have guys going out there and tearing it up on game number 1.
Now, I'm going to ask you a favor because, you always have to have the annoying program director when we get you in. And we
haven't even had a game yet.
Yeah, I know.
I'm already doing stuff.
That's me. You'll learn. I'm a pain in the butt. Like I told you, I'm very transparent. I'm not like the Sixers where they will just lie about everything. I'll tell you the truth. I would like one night maybe to tell John, take a little break, and I'll do a little color with you. How about that?
All right.
One night?
Yeah.
Let's see if that actually happens.
I'm doing all 140 games, so yeah. I can take a few innings off.
Okay,
that's
fine.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll step aside.
Imagine me doing play-by-play for Double-A baseball. Torres up at the plate, swinging a drive, deep left center field. This one has a chance. It's gone. Send him up. Get him on the big league club. Let's go.
Then John taps you on the shoulder. It's a ground out to short.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't say it was Sterling. No, I'm just messing. I like John. So Adam Giardino here with us right now. All right, so the big story, Gleyber Torres.
Yeah.
Like I just mentioned him a few seconds ago, and everyone saw what he was able to do in spring training. They knew what they were getting when they made the trade last year. Your impression so far from what you've been able to see out of him?
Yeah, he's just a professional, and he's the youngest player in this league. He's barely 20 years old. They actually have 3 of the 7 youngest players in the Eastern League on their roster. So when you got Gleyber Torres, he's the youngest guy in the league. He's in the Arizona Fall League, which for people who aren't familiar, that's basically all the teams send their best prospects to the Arizona Fall League right after the season to get more work in. As a 20-year-old, he won the batting title. He was the league MVP. He was the youngest guy there, and he was the best player there. Then he goes to spring training, has almost 30 at-bats with the Yankees, hits over 400 against big league competition with a couple of home runs. So the bar and standard is set incredibly high for Gleyber Torres, and he's come into this season hitting right around 300. It's a small sample size, but the type of at-bats that he has had, totally consummate professional at-bat. He's taking hits when he can. To be honest, he's hitting 300, and if you asked him, he probably should be hitting about 450. He's missed a lot. He's missed a lot of pitch. He's just
That's
missed pitches.
unbelievable.
I mean, 3-1 counts where fastball top of the zone, and he's just shooting it straight back into the backstop. So, you can see he comes away with at-bats, and there are pitches within the at-bats where you're thinking, in a month from now he's going to be all over those pitches. So 300 almost feels like the bottom of what we're going to see out of him. In baseball, it's a long season and things happen. But just to piggyback on what every scout has said, really since the Yankees acquired him in the deal for Aroldis Chapman, I mean, he looks like a bona fide big leaguer. And when scouts say, yeah, this guy, if he doesn't make a couple of big league all-star teams, it would be a disappointment.
Who do they compare him to?
I haven't even, I don't even, totally not familiar with those comparisons, because he's somebody that
he's so
at one time they thought he might switch positions, and now people are really liking him as a shortstop. And, it's a guy, and I am not comparing him to Manny Machado, but Manny Machado was a shortstop in the minors, and then, all right, he bulked up and went to third base. Or there are just options for guys like that. And I think his value at shortstop right now is more than what people thought defensively, where he's a really solid shortstop. So until maybe if he does bulk up and loses some range, or he's 20 years old, there's just a ton of things that can happen. So it's hard to compare him.
As MJ would say, the ceiling is the roof, basically.
The ceiling is the roof on this kid.
That's good to hear if you're a Yankee fan, and if you see what Gleyber Torres has been doing, and it's a tremendous draw here for Trenton to be able to showcase him forever, how long he is here this season. In terms of improvement, because everyone gives him words of extolment, and I know that we mentioned a little bit, go from 300 to 450. That's being a little bit crazy, but I totally get what you're saying. When you look at his game, if there's one thing you have to pinpoint and say, this is what he needs to improve on, what's that one thing? Is there one thing?
So far, I mean, I think it's just taking command of the pitches that he's looking for, and that's he's getting some pitches in at bats that he's just not driving. He had a triple last night, so that was his first extra base hit since opening day. A double on opening day, his first at bat in Double A was a screaming double into the left field corner, and then he had a triple last night. I mean, I want to even look through my scorebook. I don't think he's gone 3 at bats without reaching base. Like, wow. I think every if he goes back-to-back plate appearances without reaching, he's going to walk or he's going to get a hit. So it's really hard in the first 6 games of the season. He's played all 6 to even point a finger at something where you're kind of like, oh, yeah, you can see that needs to improve. Like I said, jumping on pitches that he's expecting, that 3-1 fastball that he gets, he just hasn't been able to drive it yet, but that'll come.
Now let's talk about another big name that's here, and that's going to be someone that's going to join us at 5:15 today. Justice Sheffield had a tremendous debut yesterday for the season. Just when you watch him play, and I know it's only been 1 game this year, just what are some things that you even saw in that first start?
Yeah, I saw with the scouting report on him is he's left-handed, so he throws 93, 94. He was sitting 93, which was nice to see. It was an accurate score gun, radar gun on the scoreboard in Akron, so it was kind of nice to see that. Sometimes the radar gun readings, you're sitting in the booth, you're looking at them, and you know they're not right. But Akron's was accurate, and he was sitting 93 last night. So for a left-hander, that's a great number for, especially talk about young kid. He's 20 as well, so he's one of those guys that's one of the top 5 youngest players in the Eastern League. And here he is going out in his first start of the season, throwing 1 unearned run baseball. The last guy he faced reached on an error and then was allowed to score as an inherited runner. So as far as I'm concerned, Sheffield, I mean, he was just about flawless last night. His athleticism is something that scouts had talked about, where it's, oh yeah, he's an athletic pitcher, and sometimes it's really hard to see as a fan or someone who's not necessarily trained to be a scout. But he made a couple of plays off the mound last night where there was a ground ball to first base, and it looked like Lonnie Chisenhall, who was rehabbing for Akron, was going to beat him to first. And, I mean, he just was trailing Chisenhall and then took 3 steps, and suddenly he was a full stride ahead of Chisenhall. So it was kind of fun to see Sheffield with that athleticism. Played different sports growing up. He wasn't strictly a baseball player, and he looked every part the athlete last night on a couple of plays on the infield.
I know he's very young, like you were saying, but Was it a big deal for him to play the old organization, the Indians organization, or not really, just because of how much those guys move around?
Well, yes and no. I mean, for last night, Sheffield got to play against a couple of big leaguers, and Jason Kipnis.
Yeah,
and,
hurt his hand.
Jason Kipnis, who he did hit with a pitch in Kipnis' only plate appearance, and Lonnie Chisenhall. But the other 7 guys in the lineup, I mean, Sheffield never got promoted to Akron last year. He was traded when he was still in High A. So he was with Lynchburg the whole year, which is the High A affiliate for the Indians. And most of the guys in the lineup last night were his teammates. So these are guys that they absolutely spent the better part of 4.5 months together last year, plus seasons past, where they're all together, they're riding buses. So we'll see what you can get out of him when you ask him that question. But he, just tried to treat it like any other game. But the one interesting thing was one guy who got benched, who was rested yesterday, was Akron's catcher Francisco Mejia, who's the number 1 prospect in the Indian system. So Mejia was Sheffield's catcher all of last year, and they never got to face each other in the batter's box last night because Mejia got a scheduled night off. So that would have been fun to see him face a catcher who, if there's one guy that's in your mind, if there's one guy who knows your pitch sequencing, it's your catcher.
Adam Giardino with us now. It's the name of the game in baseball. We could hear all these expert analysis of this guy's going to be the real deal, and sometimes he'll have a big Double-A season, and then he's not able to produce on the next level. We've seen it all the time in sports. Growing up I was a Mets fan. We heard about Lastings Millage. We heard about Generation K, all these things. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's the name of the game. But right now, just when you look at the Yankees organization, I know he's hurt right now, but you have Sanchez, you have some of these other youngsters, Torres, you have Sheffield. It just seems like such an exciting time in this organization, and it's really unfamiliar territory with the Yankees because you always expect them to be that team that spends a gazillion dollars and be a 95-win team.
So the interesting part is my first year here with Trenton was 2013, and the Thunder won the championship, the EL championship that year, and at the end of the year we had guys like Ben Gamble, who ended up being a big leaguer, Mason Williams, Gary Sanchez, and the Yankees, very much like the Mets, historically, in recent history, since that Jeter, Rivera, Pettit, Posada group, following those guys, like you said, they were all free agents. So the Yankees never had homegrown talent. So I come as a non-Yankees fan, never really followed the Yankees growing up. Now I'm inserted into the organization, and I'm seeing these guys play. Sanchez, Greg Bird, Aaron Judge, Luis Severino, Mason Williams, all these guys, and I'm thinking, like these guys are, what am I missing here?
How do you know?
And that's the thing, is that I'm watching these guys, and it's like, man, they just seem different. And all the other guys in the league are going, no, they're just typical Yankee prospects. They're going to flame out. And it's like, really? And they're like, well, it's been about 10 years since the Yankees have produced a quality big leaguer. And I'm sitting there thinking, seeing these guys on a nightly basis and going, how are these guys not going to contribute at the big league level? And so it is really fun to now see these guys get up there. And even a guy like Tyler Austin, who took a little bit, he was on the radar, off the radar, and now back up in the big leagues, would have been on the roster if not for an injury in spring training. So, I think the long answer to your question is it's awesome. And it's really nice to see in this particular clubhouse guys that know if they perform, they're going to get to the big leagues. Because in 2013, my first year here, that wasn't the vibe. That you could be a hitter, hit 310 with 15 home runs in the first half in Double-A, and I'm just going to get promoted to Triple-A, and then I'm stuck. And they've got $300 million outfielders ahead of me. So I think that open competition breeds better baseball within the organization as well.
So now everyone talks about Torres, everyone talks about Sheffield. In terms of, because this is the fun part for me when we come here, and what you get to do, you get to track these guys through their career, and you get to see players, and you get to go, I remember when that kid's 20, when he ends up being 30 and having 8 All-Star games and 2 Cy Young awards to his name. So who are some of the guys?
My grandchildren are going to be sick of hearing my stories.
Adam Giardino, they still have the good broadcasting voice. Kids, I remember that guy, that lefty. I remember broadcasting his first game back in 1937. And they're like, well, Grandpa, that makes no sense age-wise. But other guys on the roster, who else really stand out to you right now?
Right now, one guy who, you talk about the top 30 list. Baseball America is kind of the Bible by which at the beginning of every season broadcasters go by and just sort of getting familiar with different organizations' depth. And, I mean, that's not to say guys can't come from outside that list. They need to start somewhere. Kyle Higashioka for the Yankees, he was never a top 30 prospect, and he's in the big leagues today. So, that's not to say it's impossible, but the number 30 prospect in the Yankees organization preseason by Baseball America is Thairo Estrada, the starting second baseman for the Thunder. So Estrada is somebody who just hits the ball. He sprays the ball all over the place. He's the seventh youngest guy in the league. He's 21, just barely over 21 years old, and he just hits the ball wherever the defense isn't, and he works counts, and he's kind of a little guy, but in the same vein as Gleyber Torres, where you watch Torres take an at-bat, and you never see him start the hands on a pitch that's out of the zone. That's what Estrada does. If the pitch is going to be out of the zone, he never has a check swing. It's just, all right, this pitch is going to miss. It's that recognition. It's that split-second mind and body where you can see that this guy's buying himself an extra tenth of a second that other hitters don't have.
I know he's off to a little bit of a slow start, but Billy McKinney, a lot's been made out of him. I hate to overreact early. Mm-hmm. Like even watching the Mets.
That's
the Yankees,
your job,
the
though,
Phillies.
right?
No, because
I think it is.
You're supposed to have hot takes.
Got it.
But to me, you have to find a way to measure the hot take. And for example, implore for lineup changes after 7 games into a season. I don't do that. You have to give the guy some time. Like Jose Reyes right now, struggling with the Mets. They're going to give him a few days off. That's fine. It's a veteran. But you just got to give it some time. But with him specifically, where do you think Billy McKinney's going to be as a player?
Well, I mean, he's 3 for 19 so far this year. So like you said, he's probably not off to the start he would have liked. But a double, a home run. He walked yesterday as well. He had a couple of games that just seemed out of sorts, and I mean that throws your numbers off totally at this part of the season. You go 0 for 5 back-to-back nights, suddenly 3 for 9 becomes 3 for 19, and your 300 average is now below 150. So for McKinney, I mean, I think that the one thing people are looking to see out of him is a little more jump in the bat. He's a corner outfielder, and that's really where he's going to be positioned. So just make of that what you will for what you project a big league corner outfielder to be, with the kind of either plus power or plus arm. You got to be able to do something above average. So for him, I think he was drafted as the first-round pick by the Oakland Athletics. He was traded to the Cubs in the deal that sent Addison Russell to the Cubs, with Jeff Samardzija going to the Oakland Athletics at the trade deadline. And then he was part of that Aroldis Chapman deal. So he's been traded twice, which means that 2 different organizations like him. There's one thing to say, the Athletics gave up on him and the Cubs gave up on him, and it's, well, no, the Cubs thought they could do something with him, and so did the Yankees. The Yankees wouldn't have asked for him in the deal if they didn't like what he had to offer. So there's something there. I mean, McKinney hit an opposite field go-ahead home run in the first game of a doubleheader in the 7th inning. It's a 7-inning ball game, so it was essentially top of the 9th. It's a 3-run home run to put the Thunder ahead 9-6. So that's an opposite field home run from a lefty. So, there's a lot there. If he didn't hit over 400, he hit close to 400 in the postseason last year. So, I think McKinney is somebody that, as a former first-round pick, there are some people who would like his numbers to be different at this stage of his career, but high school players just take different routes. And, it takes 6 weeks of really good baseball from Billy McKinney, and he's in AAA, and people are starting to talk differently about him. So, I don't think he's quite off the mark. He was out there taking extra BP today, so he's working hard. He's grinding.
How long do you think Torres will be here for?
I would anticipate, short of him hitting 375, I would anticipate them keeping him here for a really good percentage of the season. I mean, there are some teams view AAA differently. There are some people that like to put their prospects up to AAA. The Washington Nationals have actually been a team that historically hasn't. The Yankees, you send a guy up there and he kind of hangs out a little bit. But usually AAA acts for a top guy like Gleyber Torres. You would send him to AAA for a month and then send him to the big leagues. So that's why my impression is if the Yankees aren't thinking of putting Torres up in the big leagues in September, then there's a really good chance that he stays with us for most of the year.
Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey at the Trenton Thunder home opener game. Adam Giardino, the voice of the Trenton Thunder, with us right now. Tonight's starting pitcher, Chance Adams, had a really good first outing. With Chance, just what stands out to you about him?
Yeah, he was really good. No hits.
Didn't allow a hit.
Yeah, 5 2/3, and he still found.
Now, if you want me to give you one of those crazy takes, how the heck do you pull him with a no-hitter?
75 to 85 pitches is the pitch
please.
limit in the minor leagues.
Ask Nolan Ryan about a pitch count, see what he says.
That's good. See, yeah, this is good. So I'm supposed to ignore that, right, and just move on with the original question?
You could do whatever you want. You're the voice of the Thunder, so you have to walk that line of, representing the Thunder the right way and then meeting the needs of our talk show, which I always think the needs of our talk show are more important, but I'm very selfish in that matter.
So I'm going to pivot back to the original question. And
Very smooth.
Chance Adams, in that first outing, he did have a few walks. He walked 4 men in 5 2/3, so he had the no hits, no runs, just outstanding. Actually, the Thunder were 5 outs from a combined no-hitter that night. And that would have been a real nice story to start the season with. Still got a victory over the Erie Seawolves that night. And for Chance, I mean, he's just every start he goes out and the other team can't hit him. And you don't want to be that definitive in your assessment with a pitcher, but we've seen far too much of it. I mean, 14 starts with the Thunder, and if he gives up 3 hits, it's an off night for him. So last year, actually, Adams threw over 110 innings, and since 1993, if you think of all the minor league pitchers at all the different levels who have thrown 110 innings in a season, Adams had the second lowest batting average against. There was a pitcher for the Chicago White Sox in 2001 who never made the big leagues, who had a 163 batting average against, and Adams last year had a 167 batting average against for the whole season. So, and actually in his final 13 appearances of the season with Trenton, that number was 143. So he was actually far better at Double-A last year than he was with High A Tampa. So everything that I have seen out of Chance Adams, I can't possibly fathom him not making the big leagues. You haven't seen him give up more than – if he's given up 3 runs in a game this year, in a game that he's ever pitched that I've seen, I don't think that's the case. So, scouts talk and kind of ask questions to me, and it's like, well, what do you think of this guy? Is he a starter? Is he a reliever? He was a reliever taken out of Dallas Baptist in the 5th round. So even scouts are kind of going, why can he get through a lineup 3 times and guys still can't hit him? And they see him pitch. They ask that question before the game. They see him pitch that night, and they've got their questions answered, where the analysis is for Chance Adams is that he has a short arm action. So that means –
what the heck does that mean?
So
Explain
that means when you're going into the windup, that the ball, your hand comes out of your glove, and you don't have this big timing mechanism for the hitters to get ready. You get the glove, the hand comes out, you're firing to the plate. It's a short arm, and he's still throwing at 96. So that, by having such a short arm action, the real velocity appears faster to a hitter.
All right, before we let you run, Adam Giardino, let's get into some fun stuff real quickly. And this is a whole lot of fun. This Bible that you have here, your scorebook, which has, every game that you're going to do this season?
It will eventually, yeah.
What happens if you lost this? Have you ever lost this scorebook in a season?
No, I haven't.
His eyes lit up.
I know, the gleam in your eye makes me think that you're about to walk towards the river with it.
No.
Which, okay, that scared me for a second. Yeah, I mean, everyone fills out their book differently. And
have you ever thought you lost it?
No, never have thought that I've lost it. So it would be tough.
A great April Fool's prank. I'm going to get in cahoots with John, and we're going to steal that thing. We're going to get that sucker and make you, cry one night.
It would really. I would be sweating it. And I mean, you just, I'm talking about the game tonight. So I filled out my lineup for tonight's game, and I want to seamlessly say, last night Rashad Crawford, and I can just quickly flip the page. He went 2 for 4, 2 doubles, 2
Very
runs,
neat handwriting.
A walk. Thank you. And, just kind of quickly reference what he did last night and, say it so seamlessly that it sounds like I have it memorized, where I'm just really referencing notes. I mean, everyone fills it out differently. I've got some season stats. This little green number is games played, age, if he's a lefty, jersey number, position, stolen bases. I've got some notes and velocities for pitchers and what they've got in their scouting report.
Seems like you're a very organized person.
Yes.
Your room, it's probably very clean and everything's perfect, right?
Yes. Yeah, despite getting 2 hours of sleep last night, I made my bed before coming to work.
Now, your parents' house, they have a you have a Red Sox mural in your room. True or false?
True.
Okay. I knew the
How do you
answer
know?
to that.
I don't. Well, how do you know the answer to that?
Well, I've never been in your house.
Okay.
I haven't broken in. I'm not a criminal or anything. But I was reading some articles online, and I just thought that I knew you were, you grew up as a Red Sox fan, and now you try to hide that a little bit because you're the AA voice of the Yankees, and we just exposed you to that. So sorry about that. But that mural, I think that's awesome. Like in my room at home, I still go back to my parents' house, and I still have all my sports memorabilia as well in there.
Yeah, my basically there's one long wall in the bedroom, and it's painted as a mural of the Green Monster. So it's got the old the net still. It's not we didn't paint over it with the monster seat. So It's still the old net with the picture of the Citgo sign off in the distance, and actually the manual scoreboard in left has Roger Clemens facing off against Nomar Garcia-Parra. Pedro's pitching in that game, so It's a Red Sox-Yankees line score. And, like, the out-of-town scoreboard, I even went through all my baseball cards to pick out, like, the out-of-town scoreboard. So it was David Cohn pitching against Mike Mussina, like Royals, Orioles. So it was just it's this whole thing. It took a whole weekend to do, so I had to, like, sleep in the I had to sleep on the couch for, like, 3 days so I wouldn't get paint inhalation. And a weekend later, we got this mural, and now it's two decades later, and the mural's still there.
So now, with this job, last one before we let Adam Giardino run, and he'll probably, be happy that he's leaving the set as well, as we're putting him on the hot seat right now. In this job, like any broadcaster, there's sometimes you just got to look like you fit in, and when you see someone real famous that you love to, like, watching ever, and not just go like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and just be a natural and do your job. But there's always, like, one or two people that you freak out when you meet, and you'll be a little bit nervous, and sometimes that shows on air, and sometimes it doesn't. Has there been a person yet doing the Thunder that you've said, holy cow, I can't believe I'm doing this with that person?
I had this exact question asked to me the day before the season started, so I have an answer ready, which is good because I took a long time to hem and haw. Coworker. Okay. We were actually just sitting around the night before the night of the media day here at the ballpark. It was a long day, and we were all just sitting around, hanging out, and talking. And that was a question that everyone kind of like asked about. And there are guys here that are Phillies fans. So Chase Utley rehabbed here, and that was their answer,
awesome.
Where they were just starstruck by Chase Utley. For me, it was Pedro Martinez.
Wow.
And so he was just somebody. And there are, Reggie Jackson, Alex Rodriguez, even if Derek Jeter showed up, it's just.
When did you meet Pedro?
Pedro was pitching on rehab he came through as an advisor rather when I was interning with the Pawtucket Red Sox in 2011. So he was just somebody, just crossed in the hall, said hi. I didn't really say much more. Like, it was just...
Yeah, but this is Pedro.
Right. And
I've been there.
And it was just like, it's like, hey, Pedro, nice to meet you. Big fan, went to World Series game, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. And then, like, I had nothing else to say, And, and it's funny how that could be that guy. And even more recently, this past year, one of the Yankees scouts is Tim Naring, who was, by and large, a pretty low-profile third baseman, but was a low-profile third baseman for the first Red Sox team that I ever watched. So that 1996 Red Sox team, Tim Naring hit like 280 with 18 home runs, and I thought he was just a bona fide Hall of Famer. So in my, that's my 6-year-old me kind of looking back and kind of being like, oh, this is actually really cool. So I think I may have even gotten a bigger kick out of meeting Tim Naring than I did Reggie Jackson, an actual Hall of Famer. So
it's odd how that works.
It is.
I met Joe McEwing once. I'm like, Super Joe, oh my God. And most people are saying, out of all the people you meet, it's Super Joe McEwing that you just scream about. The coolest one for me was at the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
And you're in that just pile, which is ridiculous, of reporters at media night. And I got off like 4 questions to Brady. And as a lifelong Patriot fan growing up and watching the Pats and everything, that was just unbelievable to me. And it was on NFL Network. People, they saw me. So all my friends were like, how are you standing up straight? And I would expect you to be fainting. They're like, how are you just okay? And that was my job that day, was get a chance to talk to Tom Brady. But Don't get me wrong. Then afterwards, when I responded to all the text messages, there were a lot of fun emojis in there. So, but Adam, we appreciate you, and we can't wait to listen to you and John throughout the season right here on Fox Sports 920. The Jersey is going to be a great partnership. And actually, one last thing.
Yeah.
How do you think this team is going to be this year? Last year they were great.
Yeah,
How are
this
they going to
team.
be this year?
So they're 3-3 right now, but they've scored first in all 6 games. So the pitching, which was a rock last year, set the franchise record for ERA. This is year number 24. So last year, year 23 of the Thunder, they had the best ERA in franchise history. I think we got a little spoiled.
Encyclopedia.
We got a little spoiled last year with that, and so I mean, obviously a 3.12 ERA is something you'd like to replicate, but so far it just hasn't quite. The pieces haven't quite all been there yet, and the pitching will come around, and when it does, that's when the wins will really start to roll.
Thank you so much, Adam. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. We'll take a quick break right now. Time back in our Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. 4:45. When we get back, we're talking about the process. Joel Embiid. Jackie Mack had a great article about the process, so we'll talk about Joel Embiid coming up next.